Welcome back. Thanks again for joining us as we continue preempting what we'll be able to hear today in the budget speech. The man of the moment himself, I'm not sure if you can see the visuals there, has just arrived. One of my guests, Dudu and I, analyzing the color of his tie and what that may or may not signify. What sort of mood is he in? Is he in a giving mood or perhaps not? All right, some of the issues that we are discussing is the capital gains tax, the fuel levy, state-owned enterprises, the perception thereof. But Dudu, let me bring you into the equation now. You deal with strategic advising of leaders in various departments and various entities. Let's speak a little bit more about what ideas you have, or they have as well, about growing the economy. In your conversations and in your training, what sort of issues come up?
Well, we know that we have the National Development Plan in South Africa. That is the vision in terms of where we are going. And the private sector is looking to invest. However, deciding which sectors and what to invest in is key. That's where we started about human resources as well. So in terms of looking at where to put your money, we would love to have factories and have the right skills. But also the one concern, it's the volatility of our labor market. It's not so much the rigidity of the laws anymore. I mean, did we ever imagine we'll have 5-month strike? So as business, when you're thinking about which sectors to invest in, that is a concern in terms of where should I put my money.
Speaking to Gosatu a little bit earlier, the gentleman here, Matthew Parks, mentioned that they are totally against the increase of personal income tax. They are definitely not entertaining that idea. They do not want to venture into that road. A number of other grievances they did raise. Of course, they wanted that national minimum wage. So Labour also quite interested in this particular budget. But let's speak now about something that doesn't affect the poor so much. Let's speak about your wealth tax. I'm going to bring you into the equation now because I know you have a lot to say about that. A lot of speculation, people saying that it's unlikely we're going to see an increase in value-added tax because that's blanket. It affects the poor and the rich. And going into an election here, possibly the ANC-led government doesn't want to upset the poor so much. But the wealth tax, speak to us a bit about that.
Well, I think what we've seen globally is that, when budgets are under strain, you tax the people that who have the surplus, as in the rich. So things like dividend tax, wealth or property taxes, all manner of those kind of taxes are easy game, I think, for government. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something along those lines, maybe even an increase in the marginal tax rate. But having said all of that, it's speculation at this stage. We will have to see what the minister says this afternoon.
Of course, it is speculation. Much of this is but an educated guess, and that's why you are here to just bring us into what we can expect. But judging by public sentiment in the work that you do, talk to us about the processes that you undertake to find whatever information that you need to find on the public perception of state-owned enterprises and even government. Perhaps, are South Africans optimistic, do you think, about where we are as a country?
If you speak to a good leader, any good leader will tell you every voice counts. And up until a few years ago, every voice didn't count because you never had access to information ubiquitously. And through technologies like big data, data science, we're now able to pull data from every source, public online source available. Obviously, it's a little bit skewed. We don't get to hear a large part of the population
who don't have access to
internet. But in terms of where we've come from, it is a huge leap forward in understanding what the temperature of the country actually is. For the Eskom study, we thought it was extremely important to do this analysis because we wanted to understand how South Africans perceived Eskom in the big picture. And we were able to show clear statistical relationships in sentiment around Eskom and the economy. So once you understand that that's driven by data, you're actually able to put policies in place to actually address it. You've got kind of key performance indicators. So if you know Eskom is affecting the economy in such a way, and that's a base measure, in a year's time or 6 months' time, you could actually measure, if you're Eskom, on key areas to actually prioritize your spending and focus on. So I think it's an exciting time for a data-driven economy, particularly from a policy point of view.
The announcement or the speech today, much awaited, much anticipated, a lot will be said, but the key is in whether or not it will be implemented. Will we do what the minister is saying to do? Will there be the belt tightening in government that we're looking forward to? Will the money that's been allocated trickle down to where it needs to go, or will it be sent back, as we see many times the provinces or even local municipalities don't spend that money? Leadership, absolutely critical, is it not?
It is so critical. I mean, we always focus on strategy, but ultimately strategy only works when you implement it. So we'll only know if something works when you execute something. And in South Africa, we've been talking about entrepreneurship for a long time, and it's time that we start seeing those numbers. Nigeria is doing very well. They're registering 70,000 new companies per year. South Africa, it's 30,000. And do remember, about 2/3 of those companies don't last for more than 3 years. So we need to see this budget reflecting how it is that we're actually going to go entrepreneurs, because ultimately big companies are not the ones creating jobs. It is the small person. It is the small companies that are going to be the future of this economy, and we have to start looking after them.
It will be quite interesting to find out just how much money will be sent through to that new small business development department there, that will also give us an indication as to where we're going as a country. But Mogatla, let me bring you in here, and let's talk about South Africa now and the business sector they're in. You made a comparison, and I know you were speaking off air, to the likes of Kenya and where we are as a country. Let's perhaps not look at ourselves in isolation. Put us in context. Where are we in terms of the whole continent?
Sure. In the past 24 months, South Africa has gone from being the biggest economy on the continent to being now being surpassed by Nigeria. In terms of attracting private equity, East Africa and West Africa are far more dynamic in that respect than South Africa. Obviously, we still attract a whole lot, but when you see our own companies investing outside of South Africa, it tells you something. It tells you that they see opportunities there, or that environment being far more attractive to capital than our own. So those are the kind of things that this budget and indeed other ministries can look to address to make South Africa a great investment destination again. Because capital these days is very, very mobile.
We'll have to leave it there, at least for now. Thank you so much for joining us, and we continue this conversation. We'll also be speaking to some young South Africans to find out whether or not they're optimistic about what they'll be hearing today, and if they even know or even care about the budget speech. All that and more in just a moment. Stay with us.